Hello! In this lecture we are going to learn how to build mean plot charts with ggplot2. I'm going to use the same data frame, demo, that contains information about a group of car owners. And I'm going to create a mean plot representing the average income for each gender category, male and female. So the grouping variable will be dichotomous, binomial, with two categories. First, let's load the package ggplot2. And now let's make some preparations for building the chart, the mean plot chart. First, let's create the data frame with the means of the gender groups with the function aggregate. I think you know it from a previous lecture. So, for the variable income, we are going to compute the means for each gender category. So, the grouping variable is introduced here by the option by and the function list. And I'm going to call this data frame aggdata. Let's run this and let's view my data frame. So here we have for each group, female and male, the average income in the column X, the variable X. Okay, now we can draw the plot. So here we have to use first the function geom_line in order to draw a line. I must specify the data frame, which is aggdata, this one. The column X will contain only two values, so here it is defined by the sequence 1, 2, because we only have two categories, male and female. And the axis Y will represent the column X in the data frame aggdata, so this column. Okay, now let's play around with the axis a bit. The scale X will be discrete, so I'm going to use this function scale X discrete. The name the name of the scale is gender, and the labels are female and male, in this order from the data frame aggdata. And the scale Y is of course continuous, so I'm going to use this function scale Y continuous. Its name is income, and the limits are 70 to 85. Why I have chosen these limits? Because here the values are for male, the average incomes 73.03, and for female 84.37. Okay, now let's run all this. And presto, we have the line here. So we can notice in this chart that the male subjects have an average income lower than the female subjects. So we can visualize the difference here in this graph. Of course, we can change the line color and make it a bit thicker. So here in the geom_line function, we put the color equal to red and the size equal to 1.3. The default size is 1, so we'll get a thicker line. The other options here are the same. You can notice here in this chart the result. Okay, that would be all for the gender category. And now let's build a chart with the polytomous factor. So with a factor with 3 or more categories. Of course, we'll get a broken line. This time our factor will be educational level, educ, with 5 categories. The procedure is the same. First, using the aggregate function, we compute the average income for each category of education. Okay, let's do that and see the variable, the data frame eg data. Okay, so here you have the incomes, the average incomes for each of the 5 education levels. And now we can build our chart. As you notice here in the geom_line function, in the aesthetics option, the axis the x-axis, has 5 categories. So it is defined by a sequence 1, 2, 5. And on the y-axis, the x column from the data frame eg data is represented. The scale x has the name education level now, and the labels are, of course, the categories of the variable educational level. You can see them here. And the scale y, the y-axis, is continuous. So I'm going to use here the option scale y continuous. The name is income, and the limits are 64 and 116. Let's run this. Okay, so that's our broken line, that's our graph. So here we can visualize the differences in average income for all the 5 education levels. Let's go further. Now let's build a grouped mean plot. The grouping variable will be the car category, car_cat. So we are going to create the mean plot for the same variable, education levels, but we will have 3 lines this time, 1 line for each car category: economy, standard, and luxury cars. How to do that? First of all, let's create 3 data frames for the economy, standard, and luxury cars using the brackets. So we will call them demo EC for the economy cars, demo ST for the standard cars, and demo LU for the luxury cars. Let's create them all at once. Okay. And now, using the same aggregate function, we will build 3 data frames that will contain the average income for each education level. So the first data frame, AGGEC, contains the average income by educational level, but for the owners of the economy cars, of course. The second data frame, AGGST, will contain the same information, the income by education level, but for the owners of the standard cars. And finally, the AGGLU data frame will contain the same information, the average income by education level, but for the owners of luxury cars. Let's run them all. And now let's visualize our data frames here. So that's the data frame AGGEC. Here we have the data for the economy cars. Here we have the data for the owners of standard cars. And here we have the data, the average incomes for the owners of luxury cars. And now we can plot the 3 lines on the same chart. You notice that we have here 3 geom_line functions. The data frame for each one will be AGGEC, AGGST, and AGGLU respectively, of course. The x-axis will be defined with a sequence from 1 to 5 because the grouping variable education has 5 categories. And the y-axis will represent the average income here, the variable x, from each data frame, AGG, EC, ST, and LU. And using the color option, we give a different color to each line. Green for the economy cars, red for the standard cars, and blue for the luxury cars. And we define the scales for the two axes in exactly the same way as previous. Let's select it all and run it all. Just a moment. So here you can view the 3 lines for each car category. So the blue line corresponds to the luxury cars, so they have the highest income as expected. The red line corresponds to the standard cars, and the green line corresponds to the economy cars. These owners have the lowest income also as expected. Now this chart does not have a legend. Let's add a legend like in the previous lectures. Okay. So first of all, we will define a variable LGD with the function scale color manual. The name will be, let's say, legend. And with the function values, we assign a color to each car category. Green to economy, red to standard, and blue to luxury. And here, in just a moment, in the ggplot function, you notice here that in the geom_line functions, you have the color option in the aesthetics option here. So between these parentheses. Okay, so the color for the variable, for the category economy is green, for the variable, for the category standard, is red, for the category luxury is blue. Why do we put the color option in the aesthetic option? Because this way the program knows that it must add a legend to the chart. And to actually add the legend, we add the LGD variable at the end here. Please don't forget that. Let's run this all. Okay, first I had to define to store the variable legend. Sorry, I got an error. So now I define the variable legend, and now I can create the chart. That's it. Just a moment. So you have the legend here at the right. So now our chart looks really good. That's all. Thank you.